Hello everyone, this is a video for the Bhagavad Gita or the Gita. I'm going to be summarizing the Gita and then interpreting it. Before we step into that though, I would like to explain a few things. So basically, the Gita is a very important text. Some people see it as philosophy. Some people take the Gita as religious text, and some people view the Gita as a text that answers fundamental questions for humankind, such as what is our purpose. So for the summary, the Gita starts with this family. The narrative of the Gita focuses around this singular family, this one family that is separated into two parts, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. In the beginning, the Kauravas tell the Pandavas that you have to leave the kingdom, and again, this kingdom is in India, and the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they have a kingdom there. So the Kauravas tell the Pandavas that you have to leave the kingdom, and once you come back, we're going to give you land, we're going to take care of you. So the Pandavas, thinking that, okay, this is our family members, they're not going to do anything to harm us in any way, they leave with the idea that when they come back, they're going to get land. However, when they come back, though, the Kauravas deny any request, any request from the Pandavas to get land. The Kauravas say that they won't even give the Pandavas enough land to even put their feet. So after this, the Pandavas try several different methods to communicate with the Kauravas to somehow make a deal for them to get land, but the Kauravas are not having it. They're not going with the idea in any way. So it comes to the point where the Pandavas, the only option they have is to go to war to fight for their inheritance. The Pandavas even asked for five measly villages or five measly cities, but the Kauravas said no. They had an iron fist. They wouldn't let the Pandavas have anything. So it comes to the point they have to go to war. And on the day of the war, um, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they are lined up, you know, side one side faces the other. And Arjuna, who is one of the leaders of the Pandavas, he goes to the middle of the battlefield, and he kind of looks across. He surveys the battlefield. He surveys the other side, and he right away he has a crisis because when he looks to the other side, he sees aunts and uncles, he sees friends, he sees family members, he sees his loved ones. Again, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, they are a part of one family. So this war is basically a internal warfare, a family warfare. And so Arjuna has this breakdown. He has this meltdown because he doesn't want to kill his loved ones. Most people they'll do anything to protect their loved ones, but in this case, Arjuna is like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to slaughter everyone that I've loved since I've been a child, my cousins, my friends, my siblings, all of the people that I've known? Am I supposed to slaughter them? So he doesn't know what to do. Yes, he wants his inheritance. Yes, he wants his kingdom. But at the same time, is it right? He questions, is it right for me to kill these people, to kill my blood relative, my blood relatives? And so Arjuna has this conversation with this God, with the God Krishna. And it's this one-on-one conversation between a man and a god. And Krishna basically tells him, kill him. Krishna says, that this is the way of nature. This is the way that I've set up the world. Go to war, kill them. And that sounds a little horrific, but he explains why. Krishna explains why he wants Arjuna to do this. He tells Arjuna, first of all, Arjuna had he felt bad. He didn't want to kill again. He didn't want to kill his loved ones. But Krishna tells Arjuna, you don't have to worry about this because no one really ever dies. Krishna says no one really ever dies. You might destroy their bodies, but their soul, their spirit, nothing can destroy that. Krishna says fire can't destroy it. The sword, nothing can destroy the soul. So Krishna says, go right ahead, kill the bodies, but the souls will be eternal. They're not going to go anywhere. The souls are going to obtain new bodies, and they'll still exist. So Krishna meticulously starts to erase the doubt that Arjuna has about going to war and slaughtering his loved ones. Um, Arjuna and Krishna. They talk about action. Krishna goes through this whole few pages within the Gita. He says that action is a fundamental part of human life. Even if you sit down and you decide never to act in this world, you're still acting. The fact that you decide to do nothing is still an action itself. That's still an action. Um, Krishna says your body would not work without action. And when we think about this, the way that your blood circulates around your body, the way that your internal organs work, the way that your heart always is pumping blood. Your body is always moving. There is always action. There's always like a super highway that is working within your body. So Krishna says, life is governed through action. Everything is governed through action. If you decide not to do action by going to war, you're making a mistake. And Krishna is saying there's nothing wrong with going to war and slaughtering these people. Now, again, Arjuna is in the right here because, first of all, they took his inheritance away, right? They took his birthright away. Um, and he still feels bad about taking down his family members because there are his family members. But Krista says, don't worry about that. They're not really gonna die. Their envelopes, I mean, their host bodies are going to die, but the things that make them themselves will never be destroyed. So Arjuna talks to Krishna about a lot of things. They talk about yoga. They talk about how yoga can help a human connect to Krishna, to connect to the God. They talk about um, it kind of like falls into philosophy and how humans should live, in that we should detach ourselves when we commit actions. Krishna kind of asks Arjuna to detach himself from the action that he's about to make. Because if you detach yourself from actions, you're just going to act without emotion. You're going to act without limitations. Because, when you act with emotions, you have restraint. But Krishna says, get rid of attachment and just act. And eventually, that's what Arjuna does. So they have this very long conversation. Krishna reveals to Arjuna that it's really not that big of a deal that you are about to slaughter your family members. He talks to him about how he can connect and how humans are supposed to connect to him. And then to finish their conversation, Arjuna kind of in a way, through my interpretation, I kind of see that Arjuna asked Krishna for validation. So Arjuna says to Krishna, reveal your true self to me. Again, Krishna is a god, so um, Arjuna asks him to reveal who he is, his true form. And Krishna, he has a lot of forms. He goes through many of them. Um, Several, wind gods and water gods and sea gods and so many different deities. And at a point, Arjuna says, "I can't take it anymore. Just show me your base form." And Krishna does show Arjuna his base form of four arms, because Krishna's base form has four arms, and it has a discus. So it's this place where Arjuna and Krishna, they connect in a way, and Arjuna knows who he's talking to, what God he's talking to. And in the end of this conversation, now this conversation seems to be pretty long, but to the people on the outside, to the Kauravas and the Pandavas that were on the battlefield, this never happened to them. They weren't there. They didn't witness this. Only Arjuna has this conversation with Krishna. Only Arjuna has this conversation. And literally, time doesn't stop for them. It's just Arjuna has this conversation with Krishna in pretty much in a half a second. So they don't recognize that Arjuna just basically went through this whole life situation. To them, he was just in the middle of the battlefield. And after having this conversation, after basically Krishna convinces Arjuna about taking action, about murdering his family, Arjuna accepts, and the narrative basically ends with Arjuna accepting that he's going to slaughter um, his family members, the Kauravas. So that's the Gita. That's the narrative. That's what's important of it. This narrative is very powerful because it questions human attachment. It questions identity, because Arjuna wanted to know his identity. He wanted to know who he was, and he wanted Krishna to basically define his purpose. He wanted Krishna to define what he represented, because you know Arjuna, before he talked to Krishna, his values were that if you slaughter your family members, the family is gonna descend into madness, into craziness, into disorder. So he had morals that were more about conserving the family, the status quo. But after he has this conversation with Krishna, his view of reality, his view of the world changes, and I think that talks about um, the human mindset to figure out, I guess, purpose, to figure out why we exist, why we are alive. And many religions define why we are alive, and there are several definitions. And the Gita gave its own definition. The Gita says we all have to act. We all are already acting in the world. We all, like, even if we choose to do nothing, like if you choose to sleep for all of your life, or to sit on a chair for all of your life, you're still doing an action. You're still, maybe physically you're not moving, but your body is still moving in certain ways. Your mind is still moving. Um, you're still, in a way, influencing reality in some way, some shape, form. Um, the back of the Gita, when the atomic bomb was invented, the I think there's a relation to the atomic bomb and the Gita, because the Gita is like this explosion of, in a way, explosion of emotions, an explosion of reality, or what is human nature, what are we supposed to do, what is purpose. There are so many questions and so many ideas and so many um, theories and things we can take from the Gita that kind of talks about humankind and human purpose. So for that reason, the Gita is very important, because in the end, Arjuna detaches himself from his emotions. He forgets about his morals that he began with, because his morals were very high. In the beginning, he was sad about slaughtering his aunts and uncles, his siblings. But in the end, his morals change, his views of life change, his views of reality change, and he just acts without attachment. So that is the Gita. Again, this is just my interpretation of it. This is just my view of it. There is, we can go on and on about the Gita and what it means and what it says. Many Gandhi used the Gita. When the atomic bomb was first used, part of the people that were there, they used a line from the Gita, and other people used lines from the Gita. Other famous individual, other people who has changed the world in social ways, they've used the Gita because the Gita questions reality. It questions the human place in the world, in existence. And it just, all of the values that most people have are kind of thrown out the window in the Gita because Arjuna throws out that human, uh, that human, we all have this ability to love others and to protect others and to protect our family members and our loved ones no matter what. And in this short instance, Arjuna kind of like finds his purpose with Krishna's definition. With Krishna's help, he kind of finds his life purpose, his life definition, and his identity, and that's the Gita. So very interesting. It really questions humanity and the human condition, and that's my interpretation. That's my summary of it. I hope you guys like the summary and like my interpretation. In the comments, answer this question. If you were in Arjuna's position, would you have done it? Like, if you had that conversation with Krishna and he revealed his true form to you and he explained reality to you and the world to you, would you still have gone and slaughtered your family members? So, answer that question in the comments. And please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.